The United States of America half-dollar 1980 D is part of the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series, a coin that carries deep historical, artistic, and cultural meaning within American numismatics. This coin was struck in 1980 at the Denver Mint, which is identified by the D mint mark located on the obverse just to the right of President Kennedy's neck truncation. The obverse design features a left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, originally created by sculptor Gilroy Roberts shortly after Kennedy's assassination in 1963, making this design one of the most emotionally significant in modern U.S. coinage. Above Kennedy's head appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase officially adopted on U.S. coins in the 19th century and symbolizing the country's spiritual heritage and guiding values. The word liberty curves prominently around the upper rim of the obverse, representing freedom, democracy, and the foundational ideals upon which the United States was established, while the date 1980 is positioned at the bottom of the coin. The reverse of the 1980 D half-dollar was designed by Frank Gasparo and depicts the presidential coat of arms, featuring a powerful heraldic eagle with outstretched wings clutching an olive branch and arrows, symbolizing America's desire for peace alongside readiness to defend itself. Surrounding the eagle is a ring of 50 stars, representing the 50 states of the Union, and above the eagle is a banner bearing the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, reflecting the unity of diverse states and people into a single nation. The inscriptions United States of America and half-dollar encircle the reverse, clearly identifying the coin's issuing authority and denomination. By 1980, Kennedy half-dollars were no longer minted in silver for circulation. Instead, the 1980 D half-dollar is composed of a copper-nickel-clad structure, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin its durable, silver-like appearance while keeping production costs low. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge, consistent with modern U.S. half-dollars. The 1980 D issue was produced in large numbers primarily for circulation, although by this period half-dollars were rarely used in everyday transactions, as the denomination had largely fallen out of favor with the public. As a result, many coins were stored in bank rolls or saved by collectors rather than heavily circulated. In terms of numismatic value, the 1980 D Kennedy half-dollar is generally considered a common coin, with most circulated examples worth face value and uncirculated specimens carrying a modest premium depending on condition, luster, and strike quality. However, coins in high mint state grades or those with unusual mint errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, or planchet defects can be of greater interest to collectors. Beyond its monetary value, the 1980 D half-dollar remains an important representation of late 20th century American coinage, reflecting a transitional era when coins were shifting from precious metals to base metal compositions while still preserving strong national symbolism, making it a meaningful piece for collectors, historians, and anyone interested in the legacy of U.S. currency. Next top. The United States of America half-dollar 1982 D belongs to the long-standing Kennedy half-dollar series, a denomination that reflects modern American history, national symbolism, and changes in everyday coin usage. This coin was struck in 1982 at the Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark located on the obverse near the truncation of President John F. Kennedy's neck. The obverse design features the familiar left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, created by sculptor Gilroy Roberts and first introduced in 1964, only months after Kennedy's assassination. This portrait has remained one of the most recognizable images in U.S. coinage, representing leadership, optimism, and the memory of a pivotal figure in 20th century American history. Above Kennedy's portrait appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that expresses the country's spiritual heritage and trust in a higher power, while the word liberty curves prominently along the upper rim of the coin, symbolizing freedom, individual rights, and democratic ideals. The date 1982 is placed at the bottom of the obverse, marking the year of minting during a period of economic change and inflation in the United States. The reverse of the 1982 D half-dollar was designed by Frank Gasparo and displays the presidential seal, featuring a heraldic eagle with wings spread wide, holding an olive branch in one talon and a bundle of arrows in the other, representing America's preference for peace combined with readiness to defend itself. Above the eagle is a flowing banner inscribed with the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, which emphasizes the unity of the states and people forming a single nation. Surrounding the central design are 50 stars, symbolizing the 50 states of the Union, while the inscriptions, United States of America and half-dollar, encircle the reverse, clearly identifying the issuing authority and denomination. By 1982, Kennedy half-dollars were struck entirely in a copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, a standard introduced after the removal of silver from circulating half-dollars in 1971. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge, giving it durability and a substantial feel. The 1982 D half-dollar was produced in large quantities, but like most half-dollars of this era, it saw limited circulation, as the denomination had largely disappeared from everyday commerce, leading many coins to be stored in bank vaults or saved by collectors. As a result, many examples remain in relatively good condition. In terms of value, the 1982 D Kennedy half-dollar is generally considered a common date, with circulated examples usually worth face value, while uncirculated coins may carry a small premium depending on luster, strike quality, and overall preservation. Collectors may also seek out mint errors or varieties, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or planchet defects, which can increase desirability and value. Overall, the 1982 D Kennedy half-dollar stands as a representative example of late 20th century U.S. coinage, blending strong national symbolism, historical continuity, and modern minting technology, making it an appealing piece for collectors, educators, and those interested in the evolution of American currency. Next up. The United States of America half-dollar dated 1986 with a P mint mark is a circulating commemorative style coin in everyday use rather than a special commemorative issue, and it belongs to the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series, which was first introduced in 1964 following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The 1986 P half-dollar was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the small P mint mark located on the obverse side of the coin just to the right of Kennedy's neckline. This coin carries the familiar inscriptions, "In God We Trust," along the lower left portion of the obverse, "Liberty," arcing prominently around the upper rim, and 1986 at the bottom, reflecting the traditional mottos and dating conventions used on United States coinage. The obverse design features a left-facing portrait of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, capturing a dignified and realistic likeness that has become one of the most recognizable images in modern American numismatics. The reverse side of the coin displays the presidential seal, designed by Frank Gasparo, featuring a heraldic eagle with a shield on its chest, an olive branch symbolizing peace in one talon, and a bundle of arrows representing strength and readiness in the other, surrounded by a ring of stars. Around the reverse edge appears the inscription, "United States of America," along the top and half-dollar along the bottom, with E pluribus unum placed above the eagle, emphasizing the foundational American principle of unity from many states and peoples. By 1986, the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer struck in silver for general circulation. Instead, it was composed of a copper-nickel-clad structure, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin a total weight of approximately 11.34 grams, a diameter of 30.61 millimeters, and a reeded edge. The 1986 P half-dollar was produced in relatively large numbers for circulation, with tens of millions minted, reflecting continued government demand rather than strong public use, as half-dollars had largely disappeared from everyday commerce by the 1980s due to hoarding, vending machine incompatibility, and public preference for smaller denominations. As a result, many examples of the 1986 P half-dollar remained in bank vaults or were later released in bulk, meaning that uncirculated specimens are still commonly encountered today. In terms of collectability, this coin generally holds modest value, with circulated examples typically worth only face value, while uncirculated pieces may command a small premium depending on condition, luster, strike quality, and the absence of marks or wear. Coins graded at higher mint state levels by professional grading services can attract additional interest from collectors specializing in date and mint mark sets of the Kennedy series. Historically, the 1986 P half-dollar reflects an era in U.S. coinage marked by stable designs, cost-efficient materials, and declining circulation of larger coins, while still preserving traditional mottos like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and "E Pluribus Unum," which link the coin to the deeper philosophical and cultural foundations of the United States. For collectors outside the United States, including many enthusiasts in South Asia and other regions, the 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar is appreciated as a solid example of late 20th century American minting, combining iconic imagery, historical continuity, and the legacy of one of America's most remembered presidents in a durable and widely recognized format. Next top. The United States of America half-dollar dated 1996 with a P mint mark is part of the enduring Kennedy half-dollar series, a modern U.S. coinage tradition that began in 1964 to honor President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, whose legacy had a profound emotional impact on the American public following his assassination. The 1996 P half-dollar was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P mint mark located on the obverse side near Kennedy's neckline, a standard placement used throughout much of the series. On the obverse, the coin prominently bears the classic American inscriptions "Liberty" along the upper rim and "In God We Trust" to the left of Kennedy's portrait, with the date 1996 positioned at the bottom, all of which reflect the long-standing traditions and mottos that define United States coinage. The portrait of Kennedy, facing left, was originally designed by Gilroy Roberts, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time of the coin's introduction, and it presents a strong yet respectful likeness that has remained unchanged for decades, symbolizing continuity, remembrance, and national identity. The reverse of the 1996 P half-dollar features the presidential coat of arms, created by Frank Gasparro, showing a powerful heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, a shield across its chest representing defense and unity, an olive branch in one talon symbolizing peace, and a bundle of arrows in the other representing strength and readiness. Above the eagle appears the Latin motto, E Pluribus Unum, meaning out of many, one, while the inscriptions United States of America and half-dollar curve around the top and bottom edges of the reverse, clearly identifying the nation and denomination. By 1996, the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer struck in silver for circulation. Instead, the 1996 P issue was composed of a copper-nickel-clad structure, consisting of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin a total weight of approximately 11.34 grams. A diameter of 30.61 millimeters, and a reeded edge, specifications that had remained consistent since the switch away from silver in 1971. The Philadelphia Mint produced a substantial number of these coins in 1996, with mintages reaching tens of millions. Yet despite these high production figures, half-dollars were rarely seen in daily transactions during the 1990s, as the denomination had largely fallen out of favor in everyday commerce due to public habits, cash handling systems, and limited use in vending machines. As a result, many 1996 P half-dollars entered storage or were released mainly through banks and collectors, contributing to the availability of well-preserved examples today. In terms of numismatic value, the 1996 P Kennedy half-dollar is generally considered a common date coin, with circulated examples usually worth face value, while uncirculated pieces may sell for a small premium depending on condition, luster, strike sharpness, and overall eye appeal. Coins graded at higher mint state levels by professional grading services can attract more attention from collectors assembling complete Kennedy half-dollar sets by date and mint mark. Historically, the 1996 P half-dollar represents a mature phase of modern U.S. coinage, balancing efficiency, durability, and symbolism, while continuing to carry the powerful national mottos, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and "E Pluribus Unum," which connect the coin to America's constitutional ideals and shared heritage. For collectors around the world, including those in regions where U.S. coins are collected for educational, historical, or investment purposes, the 1996 P. Kennedy half-dollar stands as a lasting reminder of late 20th century American minting practices and the enduring influence of one of the nation's most iconic presidents. Next top. The United States of America half-dollar dated 2022 with a P. mint mark, bearing the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and "E Pluribus Unum," is a modern issue of the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series, a coinage tradition that began in 1964 to honor the legacy of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most historically significant mints in the nation, and the small letter P on the obverse identifies its place of production. The obverse design features a left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, originally created by sculptor Gilroy Roberts, with later refinements that have preserved the dignified, solemn appearance associated with Kennedy's memory. Encircling the portrait is the word "liberty," a core American ideal that has appeared on U.S. coins since the earliest days of the Republic and represents freedom, independence, and democratic values. To the left of Kennedy's portrait appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that reflects the historical and cultural heritage of the United States and was formally adopted as the official national motto in 1956, though it appeared on coins as early as the 19th century. The year 2022 is inscribed on the obverse along with the mint mark, firmly placing this coin within the contemporary era of U.S. coinage while continuing a design lineage that spans decades. The reverse side of the 2022 P half-dollar displays the presidential seal, designed by Frank Gasparo, featuring a powerful heraldic eagle with wings spread, holding an olive branch in one talon to symbolize peace and arrows in the other to symbolize strength and readiness to defend the nation. Above the eagle appears a ring of stars representing the states, while surrounding the design are the inscriptions, "United States of America" and half-dollar, clearly identifying the issuing country and denomination. Prominently placed on the reverse is the historic motto, "E Pluribus Unum," meaning "out of many one," a phrase that dates back to the founding of the United States and symbolizes the unity of diverse states and peoples forming a single nation. In terms of composition, the 2022 P. Kennedy half-dollar is made of a copper-nickel-clad structure consisting of an outer layer of copper-nickel bonded to a pure copper core, a standard composition used for circulating U.S. half-dollars since 1971. The coin has a diameter of approximately 30.61 millimeters, a reeded edge, and a substantial feel that distinguishes it from smaller denominations. Although half-dollars are legal tender with a face value of 50 cents, they are not commonly used in everyday commerce, and many examples are instead saved by collectors or sold directly in rolls and sets by the U.S. Mint. The 2022 P issue is produced primarily for collectors and limited circulation, continuing the trend of modern half-dollars being more popular among numismatists than the general public. From a historical and cultural perspective, this coin represents a blend of tradition and modernity. It carries forward the enduring symbols of American identity, liberty, faith, unity, and national strength, while also serving as a tangible reminder of President Kennedy's lasting influence on American history. For collectors, the 2022 P half-dollar holds value not only as a monetary instrument, but also as part of a complete Kennedy half-dollar collection, a series admired worldwide for its consistent design, historical significance, and symbolic inscriptions that reflect the ideals of the United States of America. Next top. The 2023 United States Kennedy half-dollar struck at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P mint mark, is part of a long-running numismatics series first introduced in 1964 to honor the late President John F. Kennedy following his assassination, with the design remaining largely unchanged for decades and continuing to be produced in collector-oriented strikes even though it seldom circulates in everyday commerce today. On the obverse front of the coin is a left-facing portrait of Kennedy. Based on the original design by Gilroy Roberts, and around his portrait are the mandatory national motto Liberty, the Declaration of National Faith in God We Trust, and the year 2023, reflecting its date of issue and continuing the tradition of American coin inscriptions that emphasize freedom, faith, and national identity, while the reverse back features the modified presidential seal designed by Frank Gasparo, with an American bald eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, a shield on its breast, and a ring of stars and ornamental scroll, surrounded by the inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, out of many, one, and $50, which together signify the coin's country of origin, its denomination, and the historic motto reflecting the unity of the nation. The 2023 P-clad coin is composed of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving it a weight of about 11.34 grams, a diameter of approximately 30.6 and a reeded edge. And while modern Kennedy half-dollars like this are legal tender with a face value of 50 cents, most 2023 pieces are distributed in uncirculated quality rolls or mint sets rather than in everyday transactions, making them popular among collectors for their design continuity, historical significance, and condition options. With typical market values for a common 2023 P in uncirculated condition being modest above face value unless rare errors or special finishes are present.